So, Morris, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
So, Morris, you've been someone that's wanted to share your story, a truly inspirational story for decades now. You've done that. You've worked with some of the biggest organizations in the United States. You've traveled around the world sharing your incredibly inspirational story. And certainly as someone that's lived through challenge and adversity, but through your thinking, you're able to transform those excuses into results. I'm right in saying.
No question.
So for you, I'm right in saying that your personal development journey started off with a book, like many other people's did back in, I'm right in saying about 1970. And it was one of the personal development sort of classics, if you like, the book Think and Grow Rich. That was I'm right in saying the first personal development book that you came across way back when.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. I was watching in a store one day, and there was a rack of books there, and I didn't have any money then. I was pretty broke, and that caught my attention. Think and Grow Rich. I said, well, if all I got is think and get rich, I can do that. So I bought the book and took it home, started reading it, and it really lit up a fire within me, and started to really look at some of the ideas and that Clement Stone, Napoleon Hill talked about, and that was kind of the beginning.
Yeah, so that lit the fire and gave you a first. So when you started that process and you started thinking and you started acting differently for that first sort of 10 years up until that point where you were sort of flying your plane, what were some of the things that you'd done from putting that way of thinking into action, and how had it benefited you from that moment when you read that book and started continuing to research down that route?
Yeah, well, it inspired me. I was a young man. I didn't have any money. Was looking for a job. So my uncle in North Carolina was very successful in the life insurance business and made a lot of money. So I said, well, I'll try that. So he got me an interview with the company he works for, a mutual benefit. I went there and they told me, they gave me an aptitude test and said, you're not qualified to be a salesman. You need to be a truck driver, common laborer, but you don't have no sales skills. I said, all right. So I ended up going to 18 companies, all told me the same thing. Finally, I had an uncle here in Virginia that knew a man with metropolitan life, Fred Mature. So I said, well, yeah, I'll go give him an interview too, the 20th interview. And I walked in there, and I was Mr. Success. I had on a pink coat, a polka dot shirt, a striped tie, sandals with no socks on, hair down to my shoulders. Mr. Success. But I walked right in there, full confidence. And he said, they gave me the test, same thing back, same thing. You'll never be a salesman. But he said, something about you, boy, I'm going to give you a chance. And I'm going to hire you for 13 weeks. And whatever, I'm going to pay you a small salary. And whatever commission you make in 13 weeks, after 13 weeks, you're on your own. I said, okay. So they gave me a Project 100, but said, take this, it's a Friday afternoon. So Phil and I bringing in money with 100 names and phone numbers. I said, okay. I watched that and I thought to myself, man, I don't know 100 people, but we all do. So I said, how am I going to get 100 names and 100 people, phone numbers by Monday? So I was working around in a Dalton bookstore, I'll never forget it. And in the back there was a rack of books. And I saw this one book said 10,000 baby names. Once you name your baby. And that kind of lit up a light bulb in my head. I bought that book, I took it home. And I got thinking, I said, let me see, I started with the age. Who do you know named Abby? And who do I know named Andy? And who do I know named Arthur? And then I got the B's. Who do I know named Brendan? It's like a memory jog.
Yeah.
Started dragging my mind. Well, by the time I got to D, I had 300 names. And we all know a lot of people, but, we've had people we met in high school and college and well, we can't think of them, but that kind of jogged my memory. So I came back Monday. He said, "Boy, where'd you get all those names?" And I said, "I don't know. I had the names and the phone numbers." And 13 weeks, I went out and started selling. That was my start with those names. Ended up becoming the #1 salesman that first year, and wasn't making a lot of big sales, but a lot of small sales. I made the $1 million round table. And so I went to Chicago. They had a big meeting. Never been to an NDRT meeting. And there was a guy there named Ben Feldman. Never forget him, a little short guy, bald headed. He was the #1 insurance salesman in the world. So $50 million of permanent life a year made about $3 million a year. I said, man, I want to be like him. So for some reason, he took up with me. He kind of liked me and found around me and said, something about you, boy, I like. I said, well, Mr. Feldman, I'm a little discouraged. I said, you sell $1 million policies, and I've never sold. The biggest policy I ever sold was $100,000. I sold 2 of those. He said, well, let me ask you something, son. How much insurance do you have? I said, I got 100,000. He said, that's your problem. Well, boy, that lit up a light bulb in my head. I got home. I went to my manager. I said, I want to buy $1 million policy. He said, you can't afford it. I said, I want to buy it. I said, you get it approved. If I don't pay for it, you can kick me out of the company in a year. He said, all right, I'm going to take a chance. $26,000 a year. That was what I made in 6 months. But you know, that year I sold $3 million, $1 million policies. Went on me, couldn't remember the top of the table, the top 300 insurance salesmen in the world. And I learned a very important lesson. You cannot sell something you don't have yourself. It's like a man at a Mercedes dealership driving an old beat-up Ford trying to sell a Mercedes. Can't do it. Comes across in your voice inflection, comes across in your eye contact. People sense it. You can't hide it. So you got to own what you're going to sell.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing in the hospital. See, the doctors told me I could never walk again, never talk again, never use my hands again. I'd be a vegetable all my life. The most hope they offered was I might. They emphasized the word might. When they sit in a wheelchair and blink my eyes, I'd broken every bone in my body, destroyed everything in my body. But see, what I learned from that experience with Mr. Feldman about his policies, you can't have what you cannot see inside, what you don't own yourself. It didn't matter what the doctors believed, what they told me. What really mattered was what I believed. And I believed I was going to walk again, get up, and function again as a normal person.
So for people that don't know then, so you've just sort of alluded to it, for people that don't know, back in 1981, there was an accident, right? That led to the fact that that was the case. And it wasn't just any old accident. It wasn't you having a car crash. That was a pretty significant accident, right? It was a plane crash.
Right, I crashed an airplane, and what happened is I was landing right into the sun. The wheels caught in the power lines. The plane went down nose first. And I was completely destroyed. And it's a miracle I didn't catch on fire. The wings had flat on the ground, kept me from rupturing. But the place I landed crashed. It was a little small field. There happened to be a man there working on his plane. He was a paramedic. So they pulled me out, and they got me in an ambulance and took me to a little small hospital. And they said, this man's lucky he didn't break his neck, but they were wrong. I broke it in 2 places. So finally, they got helivaxed me over to a big medical complex. And the guy looked at it and said, my neck was broken at the first and second cervical vertebrae. That's what they call the hangman's noose. No one ever survives that. But they did an operation on me. They took and cut the whole back of my head almost off and replaced it with cement and wired it all together. It was 9 hours. Never been done before. And when I came out, they said I'd be a vegetable all my life. One day I might emphasize weight, right, sit in a wheelchair and blink my eyes. I'd never be able to talk. My voice box was crushed. I'd never be able to breathe on my own. My diaphragm was destroyed. I'd never be able to eat anything. My swallowing reflex was destroyed. I'd never be able to move another finger, move another thing in my leg. All those, my bowel, bladder, and kidneys were destroyed. I'd never be able to eat on my own. That was destroyed. Everything in my body was destroyed completely.
Wow.
They say I'm the only one in medical history that ever survived my injuries, much less got them recovered again. But see, it didn't matter what they believe, it mattered what I believe. You can't achieve it if you can't believe it. You can't have anything that you don't have inside. You got to have it inside before you can have it on the outside. You know, what I did, I came up with a technique so unusual. It had to come from God. I picture myself, I didn't picture me. Now, I'm the first one ever taught this. Now, a lot of people teaching all over the world, but Zig Ziglar said that's the greatest thing he'd ever heard. But I came up with visualizing myself in another way. And I really learned that from when I was learning to fly my airplane. You know, an airplane, they put you in a simulator. The cockpit doesn't leave the ground. You think it does, because you pull back on the, you push the power forward, you see the runway lines coming by. You pull back on the yoke, you see that coming 1,000, 2,000. And you get so involved in practicing crashing recovery techniques that even major airline pilots will black out. That's experiential imagery. So, like when I'm talking to you right now, I don't see much of me. I see my hands. I see a lot of you, everything around me. So what I would picture the doctor getting close to me, my feet going into the floor, my feet going in my shoes. I picture myself as a participant, not as a spectator. Most people, when they visualize, they picture themselves as a spectator, out there riding on their new boat, standing on the yacht. No, I picture myself with the sail above me and the water going by. I project myself right into the picture.
Yeah. Yeah. So just to be really clear then, so you talk about, and it's something that's so evident, and it's been a huge part of you based on what you've said that enabled you to be able to defy all of the odds and every doctor that said that you wasn't going to be able to walk again or move again. And you did that via the power of visualization. So for you, where most people would visualize, if they're asked to visualize, they think and they just see themselves, you were what I would call in an associated state. So you would imagine yourself actually sort of putting your shoes on and doing those things, or you would see your whole body. You'd be watching yourself. Which was it?
When you were like the doctor, I would see the doctor getting close to me. I'd see his hand reaching out to me. I was seeing what was going on around me. I wasn't picturing myself out there in another dimension doing something. I'm picturing everything around me. That's how it is in real life.
Yeah. So you made it as if you were seeing it as if you were looking out of your own eyes, you know?
You got it.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm schooled in neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, as most people know it. And we talk about associated and disassociated states.
Sure.
A disassociated state is seeing somewhat like you could see yourself in the future doing the thing, whereas an associated state is if you imagined your dream car, I don't know, I'm making it up. Let's say your dream car was a Ferrari. You would literally see your hands on the steering wheel, looking at it as if you were to go and sit in your car right now.
So you're right. One of my goals, and money doesn't really mean nothing to me. I make a lot of money, but I've got something set up right now that within about 3 years now, that I'm going to have about 3 billion in the bank. 3 billion. Now, I don't need $3 billion, but my goal all my life has been to make $1 million a week by the time I'm 75. Now I said, well, that's way too low. My goal now is to make $3 million a week. Most of that money will be put in a charity or remain in trust, where I can do a lot of stuff for other people, homeless people, donating to the kingdom of God. I'm a real strong Christian. I believe that you're put here to help other people. But I'm going to take some of that money and use it for myself now. Because if God's got a mansion for me up in the sky, which he said he does, he don't want me living in chicken coop down here. So I've got a 186,000 acre ranch I want to buy in New Mexico I'm looking at.
Wow.
Little over 300 square miles. I want to build me a 20,000 square foot little cedar home on that. And we're looking at a 2,000 acre lake I'm going to have dug on it. Homes around there and have staff my people that are going to run my ranch. People that work for me run my companies. Have my own runway on there with a brand new Citation Latitude jet, brand new Gulfstream jet. Now, I was talking to a man the other day. I don't share my dreams with many people because everybody wants to pull you down. It's like a crab in the barrel syndrome. My mother, when I was a boy, used to go crabbing. She loved to catch crabs. And she'd come home and put them in a big pot. And they'd be down the stove and they got warmer and warmer. They start getting, and then they start crawling out and they get out. As soon as one gets up to the top, one pulls them down. Well, that's how people are. But I had a guy the other day, I thought was a friend of mine. That's 6 months ago. And I was sharing a little bit of my dream with him. I don't usually do that. He said, well, in that little sarcastic way, well, you don't have that mansion yet. And you don't live in that big house yet. I said, yeah, I do, fella. I've got it. I pointed around. I've got it, but I just ain't moved into it yet.
Love it.
He didn't get it.
I get it. I get it. So for you now, goals are still obviously something that's really important for you. You're still setting goals. You're still striving. You still want to do things. Obviously, for you, the reasons behind why you want them are maybe a bit different now. You mentioned you're a strong Christian and you want to help charity and various different things that you do.
For homeless people, starving kids, things like that.
Yeah, which is hugely admirable. And for you, after you had your accident, what was your driver? What was the thing that got you up in the morning? And I know you've run multiple businesses, and you've, like I say, you've been regarded as one of you've been a motivational speaker that's spoken all over the world for all different manner of different organizations. What was the thing that woke you up in the morning? What was the thing that made you think, right, I'm getting up today and I'm going out and I'm doing it today? What was your driver back then? And even now, but I'm curious, sort of post, sort of nearer the time of the accident, what was your driver?
Before my accident?
Well, yeah, let's look at both. What was your driver before the accident, and what was your driver after?
Before my accident, my drive was just developed and become what I knew I could become. Now, it's changed a whole lot, you know. I think everybody has a limited potential within them. They just don't recognize the potential as being all that God says you can be, but you haven't been yet. Potential is doing all you can do, but you haven't done yet. Potential is having all you can have, but you don't have it yet. Right here where I'm at right now, I'm in a little small town down here. I moved down here about 2 years ago. I'm going to move out of here, but my mother's buried right here in this little place I'm in. I visited in that cemetery many times and looked at her grave, and that's about 300 people buried out there. And every time I knew it saddened me, Will, because I don't see 300 graves. I see 300 dreams buried there. people die with their dreams inside them. They die with maybe it's the books they want to publish, maybe it's a business they want to start, maybe it's something they wanted to do in life, but they die with their dreams inside them. I don't want to die with any of my dreams inside of me. I want to do and become and have all God's created for me to have. And every one of us, He had something for us to have. And in Jeremiah 1:5, it says, before you were ever born, I had an intimate relationship with you. He knew before he was ever born that he was going to be a great prophet Israel. God's got a plan for you. He's got a plan for me. He's got a plan for everybody. I want to complete my plan. You know, it's like, how can I put it? It's like writing a book. You know, God's already written a book on your life. He's got the chapter. He's got the table of contents. He's got the foreword. He's even got the ending. The problem is, if you stay on God's path, and we all get off, and I get off, and still do. But I don't get as far now, and I get back on it a lot quicker. But if you stay on that path that God's laid out for you, you'll complete the plan He has for your life, man. It's a good plan. It's a perfect plan. It's the only plan He'll accept where human beings concerned. The problem is that we get off often enough and get off far enough, someone's wondering way off, God will one day, He's very patient, but one day He'll hand you the pen and say, I wrote the story, but here, you go and you take the pen, you write it any way you want. I promise you that the story you write out won't be as good as the one He wrote out.
Yeah. I think, and for you, so you had a plan, and your plan was you wanted to fulfill your potential, and then the accident happened. And then let's say, was that when God proverbially gave you the pen for you to then write the rest of your life? Was that?
Yeah, that's what happened. My whole life completely changed. See, I had so many goals. I mean, in the hospital, I was setting goals, one after another. You know, when my accident first happened, I remember when I woke up 4 days later, they didn't think I'd survive 4 days. And I woke up, and the first thing I saw, I'll never forget it, was the clock at the foot of my bed. And on that clock was a second hand. And I was looking at that second hand, tick, 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 tick. It went around 1 minute. And I can't even begin to describe the pain I was in, the excruciating pain. You can't put it in words. But I set a goal. I said, okay, Mark, let's try to hang on for 1 minute.
Yeah.
You can't imagine how long a minute can be when you're in that situation. It went around finally 1 minute. I said, okay, Mark, you made it 1. Now let's go for 2. That's how I had to exist in the beginning, a minute at a time.
1 minute. So just broke it right down to 1 minute at a time.
So I set all kinds of goals. My first goal was being able to communicate, because of all the physical losses one can experience, and I guess I've experienced them all, not being able to express yourself to another human being is the worst. I'll tell you a funny story. I don't tell those, it's not even in my book. It just popped in my mind. But my sister made up this chart. She was a special education teacher. And what she did, she broke the alphabet down into 4 sections. It's like section 1, section 2, and it had a line of letters on each section. So we got using that chart, and I can talk pretty fast. You know, you and I talking right here together. She taught the nurses in the hospital how to use it. So I wanted to create some favor with the nurses, you know, so I would blink out to them, you are a great nurse, and they go out smiling, you know, because I want them to give me the best care they could. And one would come in and say, you're just a fantastic nurse, I'm blinking out. And there was this one nurse that was always rough on me. She had no business being a nurse. She didn't care what she was doing. She just came in and hurt me. She came in, this nurse came in one day. I blinked out. You're a great nurse. She walked out. Well, right behind her, this mean one came in. And she was smiling and said, you got a message for me? I blinked my eyes one time. Oh, she grabbed the chart and her pad of paper and a pen. And I started blinking out. U, the letter U, R, the letter R, A, and she was smiling. And then I blinked out B, I, T, C. When I got to C, she threw it in the floor. She went call my sister down. He's cutting me out with the dart. My sister said, what do you want me to do about it? Well, about 10 years later, I was back up in that town, Charlottesville, had a big speaking engagement there. I told my wife, I said, let's go by that hospital, University of Virginia, go to the 5th floor where I was there for 6 months and see if anybody there that was there when I was there. So we went up, here come that nurse. She was still there. She looked at me and kind of reluctant. And she came out and said, you remember me? I said, oh, yes, ma'am, I really do. She said, can I hug you? I said, yeah. She said, you know, it was the best thing ever happened to me because that showed me that my heart wasn't in what I was doing there. And I went back and did some rethinking. I've become a good nurse. I said, well, God bless you for you.
No, wow. Incredible, absolutely incredible. And well, Morris, look, I absolutely love your story. I love the fact that you've used the power of your thinking to not only transform your life and enable you to live a life that when many other people wrote you off, you know, experts, people that were the professionals, the doctors, the surgeons, they wrote you off, but you didn't. You kept that vision of yourself. You used the power of visualization to and taking things down step by step, breaking down those goals to go on and live an incredible life. And your story, not just your story, but you living that has been an inspiration, huge inspiration for people for many, many decades. If you had a bit of advice that you could go back and tell your younger self, let's say it was your 16-year-old Morris, and you could tell yourself something, what would you want to tell yourself?
I tell people never give up on that dream. You know, the way I look at it, you either got a dream or a nightmare. You know, when we're young, we all have dreams. We want to be an astronaut, president of the United States, a brain surgeon, whatever. And we run with those dreams when we're little. But then life happens. We get married, we start a family, we go to school, and those dreams begin to fade and get put on hold. And the thing is, we need to find that spark that revives those dreams. They're still there. They're not gone. It's like your grass. In the wintertime, it goes dormant. Grass is still there and turns brown. And when the rain comes and the spring comes, it comes out again. Refresh again. Well, those dreams are still inside you, but you bury them now because you're involved in life. You're running a business, taking care of family, and your dreams get put on hold. And eventually, if you don't do something to recover and start dreaming again, they'll fade away and they won't come back like that grass. The grass will stay dead. Won't be just dormant, be dead. But if you really understand what's going on, that God, you may have given up on yourself, but God's never given up on you. That dream's still there. So in the morning, when I wake up, I believe when you wake up, you need to get up. And when you need to get up, you need to perk up. And when you perk up, you need to look up and thank God. And I'll walk around, I'll thank God that my dreams are there and you're bringing it back. You may not see it tomorrow. You may not see it for 5 years. Doesn't mean it's not there. It's in its timing. And that dream will come to pass. I'll have my ranch. I'll have my jet planes. I'll have my big home. I'll have everything I want. It's there. It's a matter of time. It's coming. It's there just as short as I'm sitting there talking. So you got to realize that God can revive anything you had as long as you work with Him. You know, there's two parts in everything. It's your part and God's part. God will not do your part. He'll do His part. The thing that moves God is not begging. I've set my dream. I say I want my ranch. I don't every day beg God to have a ranch. I want to get well. I'm not begging God every day to get well and get out of the hospital. I ask Him one time. He doesn't need to be told over and over again. And then from that moment, I shift into praise. I go around and praise Him. Thank you, God, that I'm getting out of this hospital. I'm walking again. Thank you, God, that I'm getting my ranch and my home. I leave it up to Him, and it will come to pass. It will come to pass in His time. But don't ever give up on your dream. Don't ever let your dream get buried so deep that you can't bring it back up again.
Love that. Thank you so much. And I couldn't agree with you more. I think so many people, like you said, that graveyard where the 300 graves, your mother's graveyard is 300 dreams that are there. And I hope the people that are listening to this, as a result of your wise words and sharing sharing what's happened with you and how you've used that, is something that is going to enable so many people to go, do you know what, actually, yeah, that dream, I'm not going to bury it. I am going to make sure that I do that work. I'm going to make that difference. And look, I created a company called Make It Happen. You know, that's how,
that's good.
Thank you. Yeah, that whole ethos is, look, let's just get out there, make it happen. Let's transform those excuses into results and live a life you love. And yeah, look, thank you, Maurice, so much. The Miracle Man. For those of you that have been intrigued by Maurice's story, I highly, highly, highly recommend that you go and check him out. You can get onto his website, which I'm right in saying is miracleman.org. Is that right, Maurice?
The miracleman.org.
themiracleman.org, which I'll put in the show notes as well. So anybody that's listening to this, you can head to the show notes and you'll be able to get access to that and go and check him out. So Maurice, thank you so much.
There's a contact page at the bottom. They can contact me by my email. Down the bottom, I link right on my email. I want to say one other thing. I've got a big business here that I've just started. We started in Dubai, and now it's spreading all over the world. I'm right now opening up. I'm in like 48 countries already. I've opened my business. I'm getting ready to expand my business in the UK. Right now, I've got 3 people over there already trained to become millionaires. My goal is to have 50 people in the next year in the UK, Wales, Scotland, and Ireland become millionaires. Now, you know, if anybody out there knows anyone that would like to be involved in business where they work maybe 3 hours a week and become a millionaire in a year, have them contact me, because I'm looking to expand in UK, Wales, Ireland, Scotland, and then take it all over Europe. I'm in just expanding South Korea. I'm very big there, expanding in India. So I'm looking to go into all the countries. So they can contact me if they know anyone that would like to, you know, want to interfere with their job. They can keep on doing what they're doing. This is something they do on the side, and I'll help them become a millionaire. I want to create 50 millionaires in the UK in the next year.
Cool. Love that. So again, if anyone's interested, then you can head to themiracleman.org and they can connect with you and find out more about that opportunity. So, Maurice, thank you so much for your time. It's been fantastic. Thank you for those of you that have been listening to this. I hope you've taken some value from it, some real golden nuggets that Maurice has shared with us there today. So thank you so much, Maurice. And for everybody else, until next time, make it happen.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Make It Happen with Will Polston podcast. Make sure you join Will's free Facebook group, the Make It Happen community. Please support the show by subscribing on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud or Google Play. Share this episode with at least one friend you think would benefit from it, and give Will a 5-star review wherever you download your podcasts. Until next time, make it happen.